King Solomon. The name echoes through history. He is a figure of immense importance. His story, as told in the Bible, is one of wisdom, riches, and ultimately warning. Solomon was the king of Israel. He ruled for 40 years. His reign was a time of peace and prosperity. Solomon was known for his wisdom. People traveled from all over to hear him speak. He was also a talented builder. He built many great works, including the temple in Jerusalem. This temple was a symbol of God's presence. It was a place of worship for the Israelites. Solomon's story is both inspiring and cautionary. It teaches us about the power of wisdom and the dangers of excess. Despite his wisdom, Solomon made mistakes. He allowed his heart to turn away from God. This ultimately led to his downfall. Solomon was the son of King David and Bathsheba. He inherited the throne after his father's death. It was a time of great change for Israel. David had been a warrior king. He had united the tribes of Israel and established a powerful kingdom. Solomon was different. He was a man of peace. He was not a warrior like his father. He faced challenges from the start. Many people doubted his ability to rule. They wondered if he could maintain the kingdom his father had built. But Solomon was determined to prove himself. He knew he had big shoes to fill. Early in his reign, Solomon had a powerful dream. In this dream, God appeared to him. He offered Solomon anything he desired. Solomon could have asked for riches, power, or a long life. Instead, he asked for wisdom. He knew he needed wisdom to rule his people fairly. God was pleased with Solomon's request. He granted him wisdom beyond measure. Solomon's wisdom was known throughout the land. People came from all over to seek his judgment. He became a renowned judge. His ability to resolve disputes was legendary. With his newfound wisdom, Solomon embarked on his most ambitious project. He would build a magnificent temple for God in Jerusalem. The construction of the temple was a huge undertaking. It took thousands of workers and 7 years to complete. Materials were brought in from all over the kingdom. The finest cedar wood, gold, and precious stones adorned the temple. When it was finished, the temple stood as a symbol of Solomon's devotion. It became the center of religious life in Israel. People traveled from all over to offer sacrifices and give thanks to God. The Ark of the Covenant, a sacred chest containing the Ten Commandments, was placed inside the temple's most holy chamber. Section 5. Wealth and Diplomacy in Jerusalem. Under Solomon's rule, Jerusalem flourished. Trade routes expanded, bringing wealth and prosperity to the city. Solomon made alliances with neighboring kingdoms. He established trade relationships that brought exotic goods and riches. One of the most famous stories about Solomon involves the Queen of Sheba. She had heard stories of his wisdom and wealth. She traveled to Jerusalem to see for herself. The queen was impressed by Solomon's wisdom and the splendor of his court. She returned to her own land, amazed by what she had seen. Section 6. The allure of excess. As Solomon's wealth and power grew, so did his indulgence. He had hundreds of wives and concubines. Many of these marriages were for political alliances. However, they also contributed to a lavish lifestyle. His palaces were filled with the finest things. He amassed gold, horses, and other symbols of his power. Solomon, despite his wisdom, began to lose sight of what was truly important. He began to worship the gods of his foreign wives. This was a direct violation of God's commandments. He had allowed himself to be seduced by pleasure and luxury. Section 7. The Wisdom of Solomon. Even as his heart strayed, Solomon's wisdom remained evident. He continued to dispense justice and offer guidance. He composed proverbs and songs. These writings explored themes of life, love, death, and faith. The book of Proverbs, a collection of wise sayings, is attributed to Solomon. These proverbs offer timeless advice on a wide range of topics. They speak of honesty, hard work, and the importance of seeking wisdom. His words have resonated throughout the ages. They offer insight into human nature and the human condition. Section 8. The Fall of a King. Solomon's turning away from God did not go unpunished. The kingdom began to crumble. Unrest grew among the people. They felt that Solomon had become distant. He was more concerned with his own pleasures than with their well-being. After Solomon's death, the kingdom was divided. His son Rehoboam became king, but he lacked his father's wisdom. The kingdom split in two, Israel in the north and Judah in the south. This division marked the beginning of a turbulent period in Israel's history. Section 9. A Timeless Tale. Solomon's story is a powerful reminder that wisdom and wealth are gifts. They are not to be taken for granted. They must be used responsibly. Solomon's life teaches us that even the wisest can fall prey to temptation. His story reminds us to keep our priorities in check. We must remember that true fulfillment comes from following God's path. Today, Solomon's story continues to resonate. It is a story of human potential and human frailty. It reminds us that true wisdom lies in seeking God's guidance in all that we do. It challenges us to ask ourselves, what will we choose? Wisdom or excess? Humility or pride? The answers to these questions shape not only our own lives, but also the legacy we leave behind.